Hey guys, Arcade Adam here, back with another video, and in this one I'm going to go over how to set up Goldeneye on your Xbox 360 or Xbox One controller. I'm sure a lot of you know that Goldeneye is kind of unique with N64. You use both analog sticks, one to shoot or aim and one to move. And the default configuration with both Project 64 and RetroArch really isn't ideal out of the box. You got to get your C buttons mapped to your right analog stick, as most people prefer. And even after you do that, there's another trick to get your setup exactly right, at least in my opinion. I think a lot of people will probably expect the controls to work the way I do, but to each their own. You don't have to take this with and run with it. You can change it and do whatever you like with it. I just want to show you both sides of the configuration. So here we go. We'll jump into the game, get N64, Goldeneye going, and, you know, classic dam level, of course. Wait for this to boot up. I'm using the start button on my Xbox One controller to fast forward through this stuff. Get through the cutscenes. Alright, here we go. So my right analog is mapped to look around, and it's quite sensitive. I'll show you how to change that too. And my left analog is set to move forwards, backwards, left, right. So here we go. Let me grab this guy real quick. And then it's right trigger to shoot is the setup that I'm using. So left analog moves left, right, back, and forward, and right analog is mouse look, if you will, or the C buttons, the yellow buttons on the N64 controller. Jeez, will this guy just not die? Come on! Excuse the skill. Guy took 10 clips to go down, but I want to show you, why I'm not doing so hot, because this is what the configuration does right out of the box. It's not perfect. So I died. You got to let this thing restart. I don't think it'll let me back into menus until we get back through here. So bear with me for a second here, and leave your comments below what you think of my Goldeneye skills. For me, at this point, being an 80s child, I was already playing first-person shooters, keyboard and mouse. I was never really a Goldeneye person, but I know a lot of people are into this game. Back in college, people would play this thing for like all weekend, like days, nights. They'd just be into this thing. You just hear the screaming and yelling down the dorm. But anyway, hit the start button, get into the settings, and this is what's important: controller style. If you want to get this to work right, I recommend you put it on 1.2 solitaire. And as you go through these, you can see what changes. So in 1.1, I believe, the look and the move are flipped. So that could be your preference. For me, I like the look and the move of 1.2 solitaire. All personal preference, but this is what you need to look at to get it going, to map it specifically on the right and left analogs. And then the second thing, look up down is by default set to reverse. I prefer upright, so it's more, again, mouse keyboard setup from PC. So I set mine to 1.2 controller style and upright, and now when I go up, it goes up. When I go down, it goes down. The world makes sense. Now, let me show you what I can do with this thing. Get rid of this guy. Go find our next guy. And tear some guys up. Oh, there you go. That's for you. Have fun. Alright, next. Reload. Yep, there you go. See, I just find this much more natural. It's hard to explain when you're holding this thing. It's like, what's not working? It's hard to articulate, like, oh, wait a minute, control look reversed, or left, movement on the right, movement on the left. Just got to find what works for you and what feels natural. For me, not being a big console player, this is what works for me. Alright, let's get some real firepower. I still have auto aim on, even though it doesn't seem to be working, but it won't find those guys downrange. And here you go. The sensitivity is still a bit high. I'll show you guys how to change that at the end of the video. And then let's take care of this guy, and then we can be done. I don't think I mentioned it already. This is the Project 64 emulator. This is not RetroArch. So to each their own on that one. Project 64 is fine emulator. You know, we're all set. That's the way you can play GoldenEye right. Both of them will work just fine. And you can do this on both emulators. But for now, I'm showing you how to do it on Project 64. So let's go take a look at our settings. And feel free to pause, because I'm going to run through this really quick. But basically, load up Project 64, fire up Options, go to Controller Plugin. For whatever reason on my system, it sits here for a couple seconds. So the big things are make sure it says plugged in and X input. So that'll grab your Xbox controller, 360 or 1. And then here are your key settings, A to A, X to B, start to start, right button to R, left trigger to L, right trigger to Z. And then over on the right there, here's the important settings. The left thumbstick is set to your C buttons. And that's what gives you the look around. So you can look, and then you can change that, you know, inside of the game itself. Right thumbstick set to analog stick, and then leave D-pad alone, set it to none, hit save. One thing real quick I want to mention, before you change these settings, you should save your current config, like you've got it set to your arcade control panel. Save that first, give it a name, and then go ahead and mess with these settings. And the other thing to check is your input controller plugin. Make sure it's version 2.4. There's a version 2.3 kind of floating out there. Older setups have 1.7. Just make sure it's 2.4 and you'll be good to go. And that's it. Jump back into some GoldenEye and get your game on. Get a couple friends over, grab some more Xbox controllers, and start racking up the kills. That's all I got for you guys this time. Hope to see you on the battlefield. And thanks for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe below. Please share this video. You know, I know a lot of people are itching to play this game and get their controllers figured out correctly. One other thing I forgot. The sensitivity. So in the second tab under devices, you want to mess with your dead zone. The instructions I found said 30-40% is what you want. For me, it was still too sensitive. So I'll play with that later, but default is 5, so I can't even imagine what that was right. But check that out. You should be good to go. And see you guys in the next one.